Hello everyone, it's Sandra and welcome to today's video. Today's video is all about foundation. So this one's for my fellow foundation lovers, foundation hoarders, reformed foundation shopaholics. I wanted to go through every single foundation in my current collection and give you my thoughts on them. Which ones are my absolute must-haves? Which ones could I live without? I will be chatting about it in this video, and I also wanted to go through my foundation wish list with you. I wanted to go through the new foundation launches that are coming up, things that are on my radar. I'll be going through that towards the end of the video, but yeah, let's get started. I thought I would organize them from lightest coverage to most coverage, starting with the lightest coverage product in my collection. And one of my all-time favorites, we have the Chanel Water Fresh Tint. This is a ride or die product for me. This is something that I would immediately repurchase if it ran out today. I love this product so much. I use this in the shade medium, and it is a very, very beautiful, lightweight, watery type of product. It is barely a tint. It doesn't really give that much coverage. You can see here just ever so slightly tints the skin. Despite it being such a sheer and a juicy product, it actually wears really nicely on my skin, and I think it's because it's a water-based product. It's not an oil-based product. The glow that it imparts on the skin is from the water, and my skin is oily, but it's also dehydrated, so I feel like this just ticks all the boxes. In the summertime, one of my go-to bases is my tinted SkinCeuticals mineral sunscreen, and then this on top, and it is just such a beautiful no makeup look that just makes me feel really polished and put together throughout the day. This product also works really nicely mixed in with other foundations if I want a little bit more coverage. Amping up the coverage a bit, we have another skin tint, and this is the FENTY Eaze Drop skin tint. I think that's the name, the Eaze Drop Blurring Skin Tint. I have this in shade number 6, and this is another ride or die product for me. This is another product that I would repurchase immediately if I ran out. I wear this year-round. Shade 6 is a really good color match for me. It's a beautiful skin tint. It has light coverage, but this actually sets, and it has a really nice satin matte finish. So if you also have skin that's more on the oily side, if your combination, I think you will really enjoy this as well. It just makes me look really polished and perfected, but it still lets my skin shine through. I don't think this performs that well on people with drier skin. This might be a bit too drying for you, but if you tend to be more on the oily side of the spectrum, this will be worth a try. I absolutely love this product. I don't find the coverage to be that buildable. Like, I just like to wear this in a thin layer. I'd say it gives me about light coverage, but that's what I really like about it. And I really like applying this with my fingers. Same with the Chanel Water Fresh Tint. I like applying this with fingers as well. Next up, bumping up the coverage a tiny little bit. To me, I almost look at it as a like skin tint because it is very lightweight, and it's the Chantecaille Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation. I have this in shade Vanilla. I used to use shade Chamomile, but Chamomile just became too yellow for me, and I think since I no longer fake tan my face at all, I'm just a lot more neutral. So shade Vanilla is a slightly better shade match for me. This is such a sheer foundation that I'm able to make it work. And if you watch the last YouTube short that I did, I'm wearing this in that YouTube short tutorial, and you can just see it kind of melts into my skin. It's really lightweight. Again, it's a water-based foundation. This has a bit more of a soft glow to it, but it's not a glowy product by any means. It just makes your skin look really healthy. It cancels out redness really beautifully, and this is one of the most undetectable foundations. You really can't tell that you have foundation on your skin when you're wearing this, but it actually does give you a little bit of coverage. I wouldn't say it does anything in terms of like covering my hyperpigmentation or any blemishes, but it if your main concerns are just redness and just overall evening out your skin tone, this does a really beautiful job. I'd say it's like a light to maybe light medium. I can build it up in some areas to like a light medium coverage if I really need to, but I don't I don't really like to do that with foundation. I tend to just like having a foundation be as thin as possible on my skin, and then I can just go in with a concealer in any areas of concern and just very, very selectively amp up the coverage only where needed. I would rather just do that as opposed to building up more layers of foundation. I like this, but if I ran out of this today, I would not immediately go out and repurchase. Like, I can live without it. I think it's a really beautiful product, but I'll be honest, the messy packaging puts me off from using it as often as I would like. Next up, we have the Giorgio Armani Cushion Foundation, and the full name of this product is My Armani To Go Essence In Foundation Cushion. This is another all-time favorite of mine. This is a foundation that, again, if I ran out of it today, I would want to repurchase it immediately. The only downside is that it is very hard to find, especially in the United States. It is available in Canada, but it's not available in all the shades. You can only get it in like 3 shades, I think. I've seen it on the Sephora Canada website and on the Armani Canada website. In my dream world, Armani would launch this foundation in all the shades that they also have in Luminous Silk, and they would have refills readily available, because even in Canada, while I can find the compact, it's hard for me to find the refills in stock, especially in my shade. I use the shade 4.5. I also use the shade, I can also make the shade 4 work. I just love this product. It's actually very similar to the Chantecaille in the way that it looks on the skin, but it has a little bit more coverage, and it's less coverage than Luminous Silk, but it just has the most beautiful, natural, skin-like finish, and it also has a really, really good lasting power on my skin. I have taken this with me on tropical vacations, and my makeup just looks really, really good all day long with this, which is something that I really appreciate. This is definitely the best Armani foundation out there, in my opinion. Next, we have the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch. This is the higher coverage sister of the Chanel Water Fresh Tint, and I love this. I love this so much as well. I use this in shade B30, another great color match for me. While I could live without this, it's not like a holy grail, oh my god, I have to have this in my life at all times. I would definitely repurchase this once I run out. And as extra as it sounds, I really like mixing these two together. Like, 1 pump of each just gives me the perfect amount of everyday coverage. This gives a pretty good amount of coverage. So together I can get that perfect in-between coverage with beautiful lasting power and a radiant finish. But obviously, if I had to choose between the two, I would choose this, because you can just mix a regular foundation in with this and get pretty much the same look as you would get with just using this, but I'm extra, okay? Next on the spectrum, we have light to medium buildable coverage, and we have Makeup Forever HD Skin. This is another one of my all-time favorite foundations, and this is another foundation that if I ran out of it today, I would run out and repurchase it immediately. I absolutely love this foundation. This is probably the foundation that I would repurchase first if everything disappeared, just because I know that this works for me. This works for me year-round, and it gives me the most beautiful, natural skin-like finish. It has more of a satin finish. It controls my oils really beautifully in the summertime, but it doesn't look dry or cakey if I'm wearing it in the wintertime. I just love this foundation. I use this in shade 1N14. N stands for neutral, but I would say this still leans a bit on the golden yellow side. Obviously, as this foundation dries down and as it blends into the skin, it ends up being a pretty decent color match for me. My favorite way of applying it is just to get a very sheer layer, a light to medium coverage all over, applied with fingers, and then I go in with a sponge, a damp sponge, and melt it into the skin, and it looks so, so beautiful. I love this foundation so much. The intense bright yellowness does tone down a bit as the formula dries, but I still wouldn't call this neutral. Next up, a very, very similar coverage and buildability. Again, I would call this a light to medium plus coverage, we have Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. This is such a classic. This has been in and out of my makeup collection for the last 10 to 12 years. It's something that I always like to have on hand. It's like a comfort, a makeup comfort blanket, and it is really beautiful. This is especially beautiful on camera or in photographs. Unfortunately, this doesn't have the best lasting power on my skin. This tends to perform best on people with more normal skin or even maybe normal to dry. Whenever I'm kind of leaning more on the oily side of things, this just doesn't wear that well on me. But in the fall and winter, when I'm not as oily, this can perform really beautifully. And I actually found a combination with the EXA Splash Zone Primer that actually improves the way that this wears on my skin a lot more. So I've been able to kind of hack this a little bit and get this to work a little bit better for me. The shade is really good. I wear shade 3.5 in this foundation, which has a really beautiful olive undertone. And olive undertones are hard to find, especially if you're like light to medium. So if you do have more of an olive undertone in your skin, would recommend looking into shade 3.5. It is beautiful. And I love this foundation mixed in with other stuff as well. It's just a good one to have around. Next up, we have the Lisa Eldridge foundation, and I'm actually wearing the Lisa Eldridge foundation mixed in with the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk today. I just did one pump of each. Wanted to kind of take out this combination for a spin. This is more of a medium coverage, medium buildable coverage, but you can also wear this very, very sparingly and just do a very light coverage with it as well. The pump doesn't dispense a lot of product, and Lisa did this on purpose to kind of encourage you to do a less is more approach with this foundation. The shade is so good. This is another olive undertone foundation. This is more of a neutral olive. We'll give this a moment to dry down and see. This is the perfect color match for me in the winter time. Similar to the Armani 3.5, just a little bit lighter. So this is Lisa Eldridge shade 9, and then this is Giorgio Armani 3.5. Downside is that this foundation doesn't always look good on me. I feel like I need to have the perfect skin prep routine in order to get this to look good on me, and most of the time, it doesn't look that great on me. The shade match is what keeps me from decluttering it, to be honest. This is like a toxic ex-boyfriend that texts you in the middle of the night asking if you're up. I will link the video that I did all about this foundation and kind of going through my issues with it. It's finicky. I have to make sure I do the right skin prep in order for me to get this to work. But because it's not something that I can just slap on and have it be easy all the time, that's why I don't reach for it that often. When I do take the time and do the necessary steps, hydrate my skin, exfoliate my skin properly, you know, try not to use too much skincare underneath, then I can get a really, really good result with this foundation. So needless to say, I would not repurchase this foundation. I didn't even buy this one. This was just sent to me by one of my kind subscribers. This didn't work for her either, and she knew I wanted to try it, so she sent me her bottle, and that's what I've been kind of working with. So that's the Lisa Eldridge foundation. Next up in the medium buildable coverage category, we have the Merit Minimalist Complexion Stick, and I love this. This is my go-to travel foundation. If I'm traveling with a carry-on and I have to be really careful with my liquid restrictions, I would rather give my allotted liquid space to skincare and just focus on as much solid and powder makeup as possible. So this is my go-to stick foundation for travel, and this is my favorite stick foundation that I've ever tried, and this is something that I would definitely repurchase if I ran out of. Again, especially if you're more on the combination oily side of the spectrum, this is such a beautiful foundation. It has a very velvety, like a satin matte velvety finish on the skin. It manages to give really good coverage without actually looking or feeling bulky on the skin. It is so beautiful, and I love this. I have it in 2 shades. I have the shade Linen, which is this matches me in the dead of winter. I can just use linen all by itself. In the summertime, if I have a little bit of color, I like to mix in bisque. So usually I do linen at the center of my face, and then I do a couple of stripes of bisque towards the outline of my face and then just blend it all out with a foundation brush. In terms of texture and the way that this looks on the skin, it kind of reminds me of the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. And here are the shades. You see here, Linen is the lighter shade, Bisque, which is a little bit more peachy, but it ends up looking really, really good on my skin together. Next up is another cushion foundation. This is more of a solid medium coverage, medium plus coverage foundation, and I have been loving this summer. This has a really beautiful satin matte finish. It's the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Cushion Compact. I use this in shade 220 Linen, which is beautiful. It's like a light, it's light to medium, but more on the light side, and it has a neutral undertone. And if I can open it to show you the inside, I will. There we go. So here it is. The first section has the applicator, which is actually really, really good. And then the cushion is in here, and you know, you can pop this out and get refills for it. Now, the only downside, again, similar with the Armani cushion, this is very hard to find. I don't think this was ever released in the United States. I bought this in Canada at Shoppers Drug Mart, but I can't find refills for it in Canada. I've been able to find refills for this online on like the Shiseido Singapore website, so I'm not sure what's happening. Is it going to be impossible for me to get refills for this? Did I fall in love with another hard to get foundation? Nonetheless, I've been really enjoying this. This is a foundation that I bought completely impulsively. I was not even aware of it. I just saw this and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Tried it on the back of my hand, did a little color match on the side of my face in the store, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a try, and I've been loving this. So an accidental discovery that I ended up loving. Next up, we have the Terracotta Le Tint foundation from Guerlain. This is another foundation that is like a solid medium coverage, medium plus. This can be built up to quite a full coverage. I usually just use a pump of this and I get a pretty solid medium coverage all over my face. I'm not gonna go on too much about this because I did an entire video all about my experience with this. Long story short, I do like this foundation, but it took a lot of trial and error, and it was quite the learning curve to figure out a way to get this to work for me. I use this in shade 2N, which is a good color match for me, especially you know, especially in the summertime. This has been a really nice like summertime evening out foundation. This will get a little bit darker as it sets, but I just wanted to give you a little color swatch. It takes a bit of finessing in order for me to get it to work, but when I can get it to work, I am happy with the result, and it gives me a really nice, very flawless finish. Last but not least, my newest foundation purchase. This is the MONIKA Blunder Cover All-in-One Concealer and Foundation. Again, this is like a flexible product, but you can really, really build it up to full coverage or get a light coverage with it. It is a cream foundation and concealer hybrid, and unfortunately this product is just not for me. I did use it a few times, and I will be passing this along to one of my friends that has been dying to try it. I have this in shade 4.25, which was my first mistake. This color is just too dark for me. I could technically make this work if I self-tan, but I don't self-tan that often anymore, and when I do self-tan, it's in the summertime when I am a little bit more oily, and this foundation formula is just too heavy for me to use in the summertime. Like this formula would be better suited for me in the fall and winter. In the fall and winter, I'm never really self-tanning, and I don't know. I don't want to keep this just so I can use it like 5 times a year when the mood strikes and I'm perfectly self-tanned and my skin conditions are perfectly normal. You know what I mean? I would rather pass this along to a friend that this will be better suited for. The product itself, the texture is absolutely beautiful. Let me give you a little rundown here. It is so creamy, and it's not greasy. It just gives a really beautiful, radiant finish on the skin, but not too greasy. It's gorgeous. I think, again, if you have more normal skin, normal to dry skin, even if you're like normal to maybe slightly combination, you can get this to work, but if you're more combination oily most of the time / oily, this is gonna be too much for you. This is very much an oil-based cream foundation product, but the finish is absolutely beautiful. And the coverage is really, really flexible. This is such a great one and done product. Would be, again, another great product to travel with. If the Merit foundation stick, for example, was too drying for you and you want something a bit more emollient, this almost reminds me of the Tom Ford Traceless foundation stick. That's the vibe. A beautiful product, just a miss for me for my current needs right now, and I would rather pass this along to somebody that it's better suited for. That's it for all the foundations in my current lineup. In terms of new foundations that are on my radar, I have to say I'm really curious about the new Glossier foundation, the Glossier Stretch Fluid Foundation. That sounds really good, but we know Glossier is really good at marketing and really good at copywriting, so of course they're going to make their product sound good. Another foundation that is on my radar is the Prada Beauty Foundation. I'm very curious about that, but I also don't know if it's actually going to be online only. I have bad recall right now, but I vaguely remember reading an article about the Prada Beauty launch saying that it won't be in physical counters in North America until like maybe next year, but it's going to be available to purchase online starting September 1st here. I would like to be able to check it out in person. I'm definitely curious about the foundation. I hear good things about it, but I'm not really sure about the colors yet. I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of stuck between two shades for myself, and I don't want to buy two shades just in case I don't like it. There are a whole bunch of new concealers coming out as well. There's the Makeup by Mario, the Tower 28, the Haus Labs. Oh my god, the Haus Labs foundation. I still haven't tried the Haus Labs foundation. I would still like to try that foundation. So that's another thing that's on my list. My foundation wish list is never ending. There's always something new to try. There's always something that I'm curious about, but with that being said, doing this exercise, doing this roundup for all of you has just made me realize how much wonderful foundation I already own and how much I love most of the foundations that I already have, and I'm very happy to use them and very happy to continue using them. So, you know, very happy to keep my one in, one out policy going. I would love to know what foundation is on your radar. I want you to tell me what your favorite foundation is right now. Like, what's your go-to everyday base? And also, what new foundation or new-ish foundation is on your wish list that you would maybe like to try this coming fall and winter? We will talk all about it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.